you get what you pay for in certain aspects. And because he was so far away too, when it came to time to get checked up on, it was harder to go see him if I felt like anything was wrong. Hi guys, it's Sarah and welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to talk to you about my tummy tuck. This is something I kind of shared with you guys before on this channel, but I shared it at that time in the form of a story time. I didn't necessarily intend on like sharing it out like this, but I figured it makes more sense to do it this way, especially since I realized like those kind of videos that I've shared in the past have been the most helpful, and that is nothing but my goal, is to be able to share things that are meaningful and helpful to others, and to just inspire and just shed light on some things that I've experienced and maybe some of you guys have experienced as well. So this video is probably going to be delivered into 3 parts. This first part is basically going to talk to you about me getting a tummy tuck and why I made the decision. And the next part will maybe talk about like the procedure and me actually getting it. And the third maybe my recovery. So first things first, like I mentioned before, for those of you who might be new to my channel, I have had 3 kids in the past. Obviously I just had a baby now, but I had my tummy tuck actually in between my last baby and my second last baby and my current last. After having my first 3 kids, I ended up having recti diastasis, where my muscles separated, and I dealt with it. Honestly, after the first 2 pregnancies, it wasn't a big deal. I didn't really notice it as much, but it was after the 3rd, and I think it was because I had my children back to back. It was like 2 years, then another one, 2 years, and then another one. And so honestly, with the last time, even though my body had leaned out and I had lost the weight, the recti diastasis was real. My muscles definitely separated, and it was not easy to deal with, like as a woman, just thinking, oh my gosh, like now I've got this pooch, especially after having C-sections. That just amplified it, because when you generally have a C-section, it makes it harder for you to lose like the stomach fat area, because that little line where they cut right there and the ridge that's following, it just, yeah, you guys understand what I mean. Unless you are like a super petite woman with a super flat stomach and super amazing abs, you know, sometimes we are left with just like that little pooch that's harder to go away. That's just keeping it real. On top of that, I was dealing with the recti diastasis, and it wasn't easy to deal with, especially when I was going to the gym. I was working out. Like I said, I had leaned out at that point. I was much thinner then after having my 3rd kid than I am now. And I know, the irony, right? But when I used to work out, especially trying to do sit-ups and crunches, anything to work on my abs, it was super hard. It didn't help. The contents of my stomach, basically, whatever it was that was there, when I was trying to do abs, it would just like protrude out through it, and my abs was basically like crunching it. My hubby could literally like kind of stick his hand in there. I know it sounds so gross, but it was the truth. And it got to a point where I'm just like, okay, this is crazy. Like, I got to see what I could do about this. And back then when I researched it, one of the main things I came across was a tummy tuck. A tummy tuck was like the main thing to say that was said to actually help alleviate this issue. And it seems rather drastic to be like the first scenario that I came across, but honestly, it was like the only one. I don't remember them having like therapies or whatnot for this. I know, and it sounds pretty funny, therapies for recti diastasis, but like I know now they've got like, you know, it's kind of like, what do you call it? They're different classes, they have like exercises and things that you can do to help correct it. But back then I didn't know that. And I don't know if they actually work. I don't know anyone who could vouch for that. But this was my main reason as to why I wanted to get mine corrected, was like I wanted it to go away. So I ended up having a tummy tuck. I ended up looking it up, researching it and went to the doctor and got it checked. And they said, yes, I was a candidate for this. So that was my main reason for getting it done. And now the process of going to get it done wasn't the other issue, because obviously now money is a factor. Like, I wasn't rich, I was young, I was a young mom. So it was like trying to figure out the right place to go to that had the right price and who's going to actually do the job and do it well. Might I tell you something? Don't cheap out on your tummy tuck. And here is why. Because when I went to the middleman, the man who, and that sounds kind of wrong, but I went to the middleman, the man who was like, he's like right in the middle, meaning his price was right here. He wasn't the cheapest, but he wasn't the most expensive. He was like just right? No, not really. He overall, I went to him, inquired. His work seemed really well done. His clinic was nice. He was very professional, and just yeah, everything about him seemed legit and seemed fine. And his location was at the opposite end of where I guess the hot spot is. So I figured, you know what, it seems cool. And then because I was young at the time as well, I mean, I just didn't think anything of it. And so I ended up going and finally getting my tummy tuck done. So this is after getting assessed, by the way. Got assessed. He showed me what was expected. Mine wasn't a full, because if it was a full, I would have probably gotten him to like suck some of the fat out of there, but I didn't. And you know what? I'm probably glad I didn't either, because keep in mind that our bodies create only a certain number of fat cells. No matter what you do surgical wise, your fat cells are still there and they will multiply back, I believe, to the same amount. Like, it's not something you can just get rid of. So I didn't have a full one. I didn't have any extra things done like liposuction or whatnot. Mine was just basic standard mini tummy tuck, and it was from waist to like hip to hip, but it was done because of my C-section to also eliminate the scar, remove the scar. It wasn't like there was nothing extra that was done. It was at the time when I had it done. That was like 7 or 8 years ago. It was like $6,000, and so I went ahead, got my surgery done, got my drains and everything. It's day surgery, so you literally go in and get your surgery done and come out. It was kind of funny because my husband and all of our kids, he had to take care of all of our kids during the day. So we all drove to the location of my surgery. My surgery got done. It was day surgery while he was out at the park and McDonald's and whatnot with the kids. And then he came back and picked me up at the end of the night, and we had to drive home for like 2 hours. So overall, my surgery went well. It went well, and let's just say the recovery was a little bit painful. I did wear my garment. I was told to wear a compression garment for quite a bit of time, and I wasn't allowed to work out for at least 6 to 8 weeks, I believe. The recovery, I did go home with drains, and if you're squeamish in any way, drains with blood dripping out of it is not the ideal thing. Or the word I think is squirmish. If you're squirmish in any way, having drips hanging out of you with blood dripping in them is not ideal. For me, it was okay, but it's still kind of weird and gross to think you've got these drains hanging out of your body, out of a section of, where you just had surgery. Anyways, it was fine. I did it, and the surgery itself went pretty well. However, I did end up having complications, and I'm not going to go into that right now because I see how long this video is, but I did end up having some complications which forced me to go back into surgery again, y'all. I know. I went into surgery twice for the same surgery. So I didn't end up going for my revision until, let's see, it wasn't until I think about 6 months after recovery, maybe even a year after recovery. And I'm going to explain why in the next video in part 2 to let you guys know what I dealt with. But yeah, I ended up having to go and get this done again. And it was nerve-wracking because I went under the first time and I didn't want to have to do this a second time, but I ended up doing it. And overall, it went well. But this is why I think you also want to make sure that you choose the right doctor. If there's anything I can share from my experiences to make sure, and I don't want to say that the doctor that I had wasn't great, but I think overall, like, I don't know, I feel like you get what you pay for in certain aspects. And because he was so far away too, when it came to time to get checked up on, I went to all my appointments to get checked up on, but it was harder to go see him if I felt like anything was wrong because he was so far away. And that's one of the big things. Like I know people fly to Brazil to get BBLs and all these other surgeries. But the thing is, like, you can't even go back to those doctors because they're not close by to make sure everything went well or is going well. And even when you go to a checkup here, the doctors that you get here are typically they're not completely aware of what the procedure is, because it's all your medical records on this thing is so far away. Perhaps it gets sent here, but it's still not the same, because it's not the same doctor who went into you and performed the surgery that is going to be explaining stuff. And that's always more difficult. The doctor themselves who perform your surgery generally know what they've done and what they are going to do and know how to help correct it. But when it's like completely different, it's just a whole other can of worms. But anyways, I went ahead and I did my main, I shared exactly what I wanted to share in this video. It's basically sharing to you guys the reason why I got a tummy tuck, and just, I guess, the process and the procedure of going up there. And with that, also sharing just a little bit of tip from my personal learning experience. So if you guys want to stay tuned for part 2, definitely leave comments down below and let me know that you're interested in seeing part 2, and get this video to, I'd say, like 50 likes maybe. And I will get, when it gets there, I know it's probably a large stretch, but when it gets there, maybe then I'll do part 2, or I'll probably just do part 2. We'll see which order it comes in, and let you guys know why I had a revision, and explain to you exactly what happened. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed my little story time, really, and much love. Bye, guys.